Molt inspiradora aquesta taula sobre xarxes socials i moltes felicitats a totes les expertes i als experts que hi han participat. A continuació, en Salvador ens presentarà dos puntals del món del turisme, en Dimitrios Buhalis i en Nick Hall, que van participar al Forum TurisTIC els anys 2016 i 2020 respectivament. Quan vulgui, Salvador.
Sí, s'ha anat comentant, Ivana, que la Covid-19 ha accelerat la transformació digital. Això ve a tenir dues conseqüències sobre el que ens parlaran els dos vídeos que tenim previstos per introduir aquesta sessió. La primera conseqüència, el primer vídeo, és l'aparició de noves iniciatives disruptives en la creació, comercialització i consum d'experiències turístiques. Ens en parla el Dimitrios. La segona conseqüència i el segon vídeo té a veure amb la integració de la tecnologia i la digitalització en els processos operatius quotidians dels prestadors de serveis i els seus efectes sobre la millora de l'eficiència i la sostenibilitat de les dinàmiques de desenvolupament. I reflexiona al respecte el Nick. Veiem-ho.
Endavant el vídeo d'en Dimitrios.
Lovely to be back, and a lot of things have changed in the last 6 or 7 years since we're discussing about these things. And I recall when we were discussing last time that we were talking about smartness and how smart cities were coming forwards and the need for interoperability, interconnectivity of systems, and how the entire range of different organizations had to be interconnected in order to create experiences. A lot of these things have progressed in the last few years because the technology has progressed. Mainly the technology in terms of the speed and the capability and those networks that enable us to do that, notably the 5G. A lot of things have progressed in terms of artificial intelligence, how we're using big data, and gradually how we're using robotics. Robotics not only in terms of anthropomorphic robotics, that they are providing services when we travel and when we go to airports or hotels, but also robotics in a way that they are providing services on the phone or through voice-activated machines that they enable us to communicate with a range of different things. So when you're combining the progress of technology and the rapid progress of digitization that COVID forced upon us, you see that we are going faster towards what we were talking about in the past, which was smartness. The same needs are there, but we're going faster towards there. And also we're going to a next stage as well. And the next stage is something that we call metaverse, where people basically using a range of technologies interchangeably between real life and digital life. And the most tangible kind of examples are augmented reality and virtual reality, where people will be interacting in different kind of environments by using information that's being provided by different organizations, and they'll have different stimuli to actually engage in different things. So you can imagine that someone is experiencing a place like Barcelona before they arrive. They have a look in different kind of accommodation establishments, different museums, different places. Then they develop the itinerary. Then when they arrive at the destination, they look around, they engage, but then they use augmented reality to augment their experience by additional information. And occasionally they may go into virtual reality to actually enjoy some kind of experience that it's happening on a digital environment. For example, when I go to a Gaudi building, I may like to see some things that they're not necessarily visible and understand how Gaudi buildings were developed and understand the architecture on a different level. So you've got augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality coming all together now to enhance the experience. So what we'll see is a very elaborate and distributed co-creation of experiences where a lot of different players will be coming into the marketplace, plug and play, and share these experiences. What we'll see is a lot of disruption because the tourism industry is quite traditional. A lot of people have not moved forward with a lot of the developments that we're seeing. So traditionally, we are operating some processes which we need to think out of the box on how we are going to develop high tech and high touch or no touch experiences using technology. And especially we've seen a lot of situations in the COVID period where customers didn't want to interact with anybody. We are going to we are going to see a lot of disruptions in the future. And I think we really need to start redesigning and re-engineering the tourism industry, looking into how we can take advantage of all the technological developments and how we can co-create better value for everybody who is involved in the marketplace. And I think that will be the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is not going to be technological, because our technology colleagues are taking advantage of these things and they're moving things forward in a way that will help us. But I think from the tourism industry point of view, we really need to start realizing what are the tools and how those tools can help us operating. And we need to realize that we should not be driving by looking at the mirror, looking at the back, but looking forward. So we are not going to rebuild the industry by looking what we were doing in 2019 or 2018, but we should be looking towards 2030, towards 2040, towards 2050. And I think one of the other things that we'll see is that consumers will require ultimate individualization, personalization, contextualization. And when we're looking at the industry, I think increasingly we'll see polarization. We'll see the small businesses versus the very large businesses. So we'll see the small operators that they'll be looking into very small scale, but high value added, where a lot of the things will be personalizable and a lot of the things will be personal experience and personal interaction. And then you'll see a lot of the large organizations where they'll take advantage of their technology, their big data, their infrastructure to engage with consumers on a large scale and create products and services efficiently towards creating value. And I think we'll see a lot of polarization. Ultimately, I think we are in a stage where there's a lot of transformation in the marketplace on a global basis. And I think technology will be both driving and facilitating a lot of this transformation.
Moltes gràcies, Dimitrios. Escoltem ara en Nick Hall.
Hi there, I'm Nick Hall, and I've been one of the speakers at Forum TurisTIC over the last couple of years. And I want to say a big congratulations, first of all, for the 10-year anniversary. That's a huge achievement, and everybody behind the event should be really proud of what they've been able to achieve. And of course, what a transformative period this has been. If we just look back to 2020, it seems like decades ago. So much has changed, and this has disrupted the tourism industry like we really could not have ever imagined. And I've, of course, shared my perspectives during the pandemic and spoken about things like digitalization and the rapid acceleration of digitalization and how impactful that will be for tourism. Well, what do I think is coming in the years ahead? We are now approaching a period of recovery. And what we do know is that it's not going to be fast and it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be with an air of uncertainty as we work through this period. So when we think back about some of the things I touched on in my talk, what does that look like now in 2022 when we think about the recovery period going forward? Well, first of all, we understand that we have to now integrate technology more deeply into our everyday experiences. When we look at some of the developments like augmented reality, the increasing shift towards XR or mixed reality experiences, we start to understand that the way in which we use, adopt and leverage technology is increasingly interwoven with the experience itself. The way in which we use technology within teams, within an organization, or within our brand experience is often sitting behind the scenes. It's often about making operational efficiencies, and it's about being smarter, automating certain processes, alleviating those difficult, time-consuming processes from our teams, and ultimately leaving us to be more creative and to have a bigger impact in our work. Well, it's not an easy decision then to decide where we should invest or which technologies we should focus on, or which initiatives we should start to think about developing, especially if we want to address certain challenges, such as sustainability, where there is a multitude of choice as to where we want to go, how we want to approach it, and what our priorities are. Or if we think about the brand and our competitiveness, how we're going to find new customers, or adapt to new markets, or shift our approach to markets which are changing. This is where technology plays a really key role. If there's one thing we can learn from the last 2 years, where we've had to struggle through very difficult times in the pandemic, it's the need to have resilience, the need to be able to react quickly, to work as an agile team, to apply innovation processes within our everyday work so that we're not scared to take risks, to launch and prototype new ideas, to test them, and to learn from our mistakes, to learn from our failings, and to improve on those. These are the principles which are the foundation behind almost any successful technology company. And as a tourism industry, we need to be much more comfortable adopting those technology principles within our everyday work. As we look to the future, we need to be ready to not only look at the technology, but also look at the problem we're trying to solve. We need to be able to ask ourselves, what are the challenges we face as an industry? What are we trying to achieve? What are the experiences we want to create for our guests? And we need to be resolutely focused on those. We need to adopt a user perspective to everything, a customer-centric approach, and then think about how technology can be part of solving those challenges we face. Perhaps it helps us to speed up a certain process, or perhaps it helps us to deliver a smarter or more personalized service. If we start by understanding the challenges and how we can improve the lives and experiences of our customers and visitors, then we'll find out how technology can be part of delivering those. So that is my reflection after 10 years of digitalization and focusing on technology at Forum TurisTIC. Now let's look to the future, and let's take a very detailed look at how we need to use technology. Let's not go for the big ticket items, we need an app scenario, or anything that might be very sexy on the outside, but perhaps not that valuable in the long run. Let's make sure that we don't only apply sustainability to the mission of our industry, but we also think about the sustainable approach that we need to apply to technology to make sure that the investments we put in place are actually lasting and valuable.
Moltes gràcies, Nick. I escolta'm, Salvador, si et sembla, me'n torno corrents a l'escenari que comença una sessió que no em vull perdre.
Perfecte.